Hello, everyone. My name is Aaron Strout, and today I'll be interviewing Kelly Brush, founder of the Kelly Brush Foundation, and Urban Carmel, mayor of Mill Valley, California. During our discussion, Kelly and Urban will discuss the upcoming third annual Kelly Brush Ride taking place in Mill Valley on October 19th, and their efforts in general to improve accessibility for all. We'll also talk about how the community can support these initiatives and get involved in the event, which, by the way, is going to be a lot of fun. So don't miss their insights on empowering and inspiring individuals with spinal cord injuries and helping them to live active and engaged lives. All right, so I know I gave the introduction up front, but we're sitting out on a beautiful day here in Mill Valley in the square near the depot. If any of you have ever been to Mill Valley, California, you know just how charming it is. And I have the luxury of, as I mentioned up front, being with the mayor and with Kelly Brush. And I'm really excited about this conversation that we're going to have. So Mayor Carmel, and I'll call you Urban after this, but I want to just start with the fact that you have a really cool, important, enlightened vision, and I'll give a little hint to the listeners. It involves things like accessibility and inclusivity, multi-mobility to Mill Valley. Let's talk a little bit about this vision.
Yeah, so we're so excited to have Kelly Brush and the foundation here for this event. It's literally perfectly on brand with what we're trying to achieve in Mill Valley. So in our general plan, which is basically our strategy for the city, we talk about two things. We talk about small town character, but equally, we talk about inclusivity. That's really important for Mill Valley. And this event is all about inclusivity, and it highlights that in a very important way. We're also trying to bring vibrancy to our town. We're trying to highlight the multi-mobility aspects of our city and our citizenry. And we're trying to provide activity that highlights the beautiful outdoor nature of Mill Valley, because we sit at the foot of Mount Tam. We're on the coast in California. As you say, it's a beautiful area. We are right next door to Muir Woods. So this all fits perfectly with what we're trying to accomplish. So we're just super excited to have this event coming to Mill Valley.
Well, we're excited that you're excited, and lots more to come in terms of talking about that. So, Kelly, I don't know as though everyone out here knows yet about the Kelly Brush Foundation. So let's talk a little bit about what Kelly Brush Foundation is and maybe how it got started, and then we'll drill into how this event got started out here 3 years ago.
Yeah, so I started the Kelly Brush Foundation after I had an accident. I was ski racing in college, and I fell and hit a lift tower and broke my back. And I have a spinal cord injury, and I live in a wheelchair. So I started the foundation to help people with spinal cord injuries get out and be active. It was something that I loved to do. It was really important to me, and learning that I could still do that and actually experiencing that activity really made me feel like myself again, and I wanted to give other people that opportunity. So that was in 2006, and since then we've been growing and reaching more people. We're all across the country now. We have programming in every state, and we're really excited to just continue this work. We know how important it is to get people out and active, and we love to do that. I love to do it, and I think it's a really important thing that we're working on.
So that's so great. I mean, bad that it happened for the reason it happened, but you have taken and turned that into a positive, and it really sort of given a lot of people a lot of light and grace and new opportunities in their lives. So kudos to you and the foundation for that. I was learning a little history lesson, and I've been involved in KBF, I think, for 3 or 4 years, right at the beginning of the pandemic. And I found out that through David Butts, who you have connections to, who hauled me in, activity started about 7 years ago out here around Kelly Brush. Now, we don't have to get into that, but I do want to talk about the ride, and I remember the inaugural ride. How did that start, and sort of what was that whole impetus?
So the Kelly Brush Ride, the first one that we ever had was actually in Vermont, and it was started by my teammates on the Middlebury ski team, which is where I was a member when I got hurt, and they wanted to raise money for me to help to get me back on the mountain with them, and so they decided they were all going to ride 100 miles the first weekend back to school, and raise money to help to buy me a mono ski. And every year since then, in 2006, we've been doing that same ride in Vermont to help to raise money for the Kelly Brush Foundation Foundation to help other people get out and be active after their injuries. And we've had a lot of supporters out here in the Bay Area. Middlebury is a really, there's a lot of people from Middlebury who come to the Bay Area, plus just a ton of people who really appreciate an active lifestyle and understand what it means to get out and be active, before or after a day of work or on the weekends, and love to do that with their families. And so we came out here about 6 or 7 years ago to start to do some programming here. And then 3 years ago, we had our first ride out here. We had a lot of supporters who really wanted to experience that and be able to ride along other people who use hand cycles and who want to be out and active and be supporting them. So that's why we ended up coming out here, and we're just continuing to grow, and we want to have a bigger presence out here in the Bay Area and be able to support, all of our programming that happens all across the country, as well as here in California.
Well, as someone that doesn't have a spinal cord injury, watching the adaptive riders and just having to get the equipment here, get it out of their car, get into the equipment, and thinking, wow, like that's a commitment. And then the joy on their face, which is the really important piece. And then being able to give that joy to other people, I think is just such a gift. I know there's a rumor that this may be the place where mountain biking originated, at least in California, but I think across the country back in the 70s. We're still trying to research what that date was.
I think we can say across the world. This is where it started across the world.
So that's pretty big when you can say across the world. So let's tie into that. And let's talk a little bit about, with this ride, the Kelly Brush ride coming to Mill Valley on October 19th, so put that on your calendars. How do you and the town plan to collaborate with the Kelly Brush Foundation to enhance accessibility and inclusion in Mill Valley's recreational offerings?
So this is something which is already embedded in the city plan. So when I was a council member in my first year, we passed a plan or adopted a plan to make our city inclusive. And that includes everything. So that includes our roads, our sidewalks, all of our parks, our recreational programs. So we work with an organization called PASS, which you might be aware of, Project Awareness in Special Sports. And they help us do swim classes. They help us do dance lessons, basketball, baseball teams, soccer. We do... in our parks, we basically try to create our swing sets so that they're adaptive. This is a big part of what we're trying to accomplish in our city. Our city manager will talk about how we have big plans for infrastructure investment in our city. We've got something on the order of $150 to $180 million, the investments that we're going to make over the next 10 to 15 years. 20 million of that is for making our city adaptive and inclusive for everybody. That's how important it is to our city. So this is a core part of what we're trying to create in our city. This is completely consistent with what Mill Valley stands for and what we want Mill Valley to be. I would love to also just kind of like riff a little bit off of what Kelly had to say just about herself and her life story, because I just think it's very consistent and it's emblematic of the spirit of our city as well. So Kelly is somebody who's generous. She is resilient. She is tenacious. Her goal in life is to support others, to give to others, and to embrace the outdoors. This is precisely the ethos of the city. So again, I'm just so enthusiastic because you are completely consistent with what we're trying to do. I just feel like this is a perfect match between who you are as an individual, what you're trying to create with your foundation, and what we want to be and what we strive for in our city.
Well, thank you for doing that. And I'm actually going to open the door, Kelly, and then we'll get into how we get the community involved. But how do you guys help break down barriers to access and participation in sports with people that have spinal cord injuries? I know you touched on it a little bit up front, but I've been blown away, and I've been part of the sort of advisory committee out here for a while of all of the ways that you're able to bring that support to both financial and rehabilitation, and just feeling like I can move forward and I don't have to sort of sit on my couch for the rest of my life.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Urban. That's really, really kind. Those words were really nice. So we do this in a lot of different ways to get people out and active after having a spinal cord injury. We help them, we empower them by giving grants for adaptive sports equipment, which is really expensive. This is something that is a major barrier to getting out and being active. We've given thousands of grants all across the country. In California alone, since we began, we've given over $500,000 in grants for adaptive sports equipment. We also provide opportunities and camps that people can come to and learn about a sport. So this provides community as well as instruction on how to actually do the sports, but sort of most importantly, it allows people to connect with other people with spinal cord injuries, which is a really important thing after you've had this injury, which can be really isolating. And then we have a really cool online platform that's all about education and connecting. So it's called the Active Project, and it allows anybody to learn about adaptive sports, how they can do them, where they can do them, and then connect with people who are doing something similar. So this is something that we have people sign up for, adaptive sports programs sign up for, and we have a whole map of people that are on there. And we have a few thousand people on that already. We launched it just last year, and it's really a game changer in access to adaptive sports. So we're doing this in so many different ways. We're finding different ways to reach people earlier on after their injuries in order to get them into sports. And for us, sports it's so much more than, sports for the sake of sports. It's being active for all of the benefits that so many people think about, right? It's your mental health, it's your confidence, it's your access to the community and being social. So we use sports for all of these reasons, and it's probably even more important for somebody with a disability who is, has so many more barriers to getting into it.
Well, again, bless you all for doing that. And if people aren't convinced by hearing that and what you do, we're going to give them additional reasons. And Urban, we'll start with you, but how can the Mill Valley community not only get involved with the ride, which we want them, that's a good, touch point on the 19th of October, but in general, how can they get involved and support? I think part of it is your inclusivity project, right? Because Kelly, she wants her foundation to grow and do well, but at the end of the day, you want everybody, to have access to inclusivity and accessibility. So let's talk a little bit about what we can do.
Yeah, so the event is going to take place here in the Depot Plaza. So our Depot Plaza is the center of town. It's the center of Mill Valley. It's where all the shops are surrounding. It's where people come in and, enter the city and exit the city. And we specifically wanted this event to be right in the center of town, precisely because we want to raise the profile of this event. We want everybody to know that this is what we're doing, and we're putting a spotlight on inclusivity. That's really the main message that we're trying to get across to people, that inclusivity is a core trait in our city, something that we all believe in, something that we all support, something that we all want to support in every way, right? We want to support it with our time and with our effort and also with our pocketbooks. That's how we become a better community. So that's what we're trying to do here. We hope that the businesses are engaged with this because it's a big part of what they're trying to do also. And this is, a focus for our town.
So let's drill down on this, and this is probably a better question for Jim, who leads up the chamber, but what are some ways that businesses can get involved? Like, I'm thinking food trucks or being sponsors or even just getting their employees to show up, right? Probably a few different ways.
Yeah, so there's going to be a ride. There'll be a pre-ride event, right? And then there'll be a post-ride event. So, local businesses can get involved in providing, drink and food, just being supportive financially of it, of course, promoting it with their patrons, right? We want people in Mill Valley to be fully aware. We've got 14,000 people in the city of Mill Valley. We've got 30,000 people in what we call Mill Valley, 94941, which includes part of the county. So that's a lot of people that can get involved in this event. We need everybody to help get the message out. So that's probably the most important way that they can get involved. Be a supporter of this event. Help us get the message out to everybody in the community so that they all know that's going on, and be supportive of this event, not just this year, but for every year in the future, because we want this to be a perennial activity in Mill Valley. When October rolls around, people should expect to have the Kelly Brush Foundation ride in our town. It should be a big part of what we do in this town. Just like the film festival is a big part of what we do, just like the music festival is a big part of what we do, the Fall Arts Festival is part of what we do, the Dipsy Race, which is the oldest cross-country race in America. Like you said, mountain biking started here. This should be a core part of who we are in the city. I think it's just beyond thrilling.
So you hear all those other events. This is meant to be fun. It's for a good cause, but those two do not have to be mutually exclusive. Kelly, let's bounce back to you. What ways would you love to see beyond the ride, or maybe in addition to the ride, people in Mill Valley or the Bay Area help support Kelly Brush and all the good work that you're doing?
Well, we'd love to see you get involved with learning about what the Kelly Brush Foundation is and who we are and what we do and how we support our community, the ride is a fantastic way to see our mission in action. So the hope is that you'll be able to come. You'll see a bunch of people who are riding in hand cycles. I'll actually be riding with people. Last year, I was riding with a group of able-bodied cyclists up Mount Tam, and it was so much fun and it was a blast. But it was really great for them to actually see my bike work, and we talked a ton about the sort of mechanics of it. So I think that's a really interesting part of that. We have other events here in the Bay Area also. We do an event in the spring that's more of like a cocktail fundraiser that is a great way to come and learn more about the Kelly Brush Foundation too. So that'll be next year in 2025. We'll have that also. Go into our website, kellybrushfoundation.org, and you can read a lot about the stories of the people that we've impacted, and the difference that your support actually makes.
Awesome. So we're coming to the end of our interview. I want to leave one question for whatever the last thing is you want to get in, and then we're going to do a fun question, and then we're going to wrap up. So, Urban, what else do you want to say about Mill Valley, accessibility, the Kelly Brush Foundation ride, or anything else that you want to opine on?
That this is something that we are fully behind, that we think is completely consistent with what we want to do, that we're super enthusiastic about. It's always exciting to be on the ground floor, to be there when something starts, a new tradition in town. And I firmly believe this is going to become one of those new traditions in town. We're going to look back in 40 years and say, we were there when it began. Kelly Brush in its 40th year, a ride in Mill Valley, the biggest event outside of Vermont should be taking place in a city like Mill Valley. It's just who we are. We're generous. We get involved. We embrace the outdoors. This is Kelly Brush. This is her, the person. This is her, the foundation. So that's why we're excited about this.
And this podcast will become like a vinyl album, right? Which is a little foreshadowing to our last question. Kelly, first of all, make sure you include in this, where can people go and register? And then I do want to give you your final, what else do you want to say before we get to our fun question?
Yeah, so you can go to kellybrushfoundation.org. You can register there. This is the hope is that this is supported by the entire community. It's also a peer-to-peer fundraising event. So you can ask your friends to help support your ride and raise money so that you're raising money for the Kelly Brush Foundation. So it's a really fun way to show your support to your family and friends also by telling people that you're doing this and having their support. It's both a mountain bike ride as well as a road bike ride. So we have different distances. We have a family ride also. That's 5 miles out, 5 miles total. So we hope that we'll get a ton of different people that are interested in different things. And there are different people from the adaptive community, some that are going to do the mountain bike ride, some that are going to do the road bike ride. So we hope it's going to be really fun. And I will just say, for my sort of last thing, California is a beautiful place to come. I mean, I don't have to tell anybody who lives here that, but that's the thing that I love about coming out here, that you get to come. In Vermont, we have wonderful seasons, but you've got, mud season and stick season, and those are maybe not the best to get outside and be active. When you're in California, you can do that all the time. And that's one of the things that I love about coming out here and being here, and why I feel so connected to the people is that we can understand why it's so great to be outside and be active. And I love doing that and supporting everything that we're doing.
Well, it's a great final note on the professional side. And now this is a question I ask on my other podcasts that I do for business. It's the one that the smartest people in the world always have the hardest time with, which is why I try to give them a little heads up. I didn't give either of you a ton of heads up. But Urban, why don't we start with you? If you're on a proverbial deserted island, you can only take one album with you. Which album would you pick and why?
So this is probably going to date me a little bit, but in the mid-'80s, I got a CD player right when CDs were new, and because they were quite expensive and I was living overseas, I had literally one CD. And my wife and I were just starting our relationship, and we used to listen to What's Going On by Marvin Gaye literally all the time. And I still love that record to death. We listen to it all the time still. It brings back great memories, but it's also just a great message about being socially active. And that would be the one album I'd take to a desert island.
I think it's a perfect answer, and it is timeless music. If anyone hasn't listened to it, Marvin Gaye is Marvin Gaye, and he's been good for how many ever years he's been around now. And I love that first CD. My first was Led Zeppelin 4, but the real first one that I got, that was kind of like that, oh, you got a CD to go with your CD player, was Sinead O'Connor, The Lion and the Cobra, which today I still love listening back to front. So thank you for choosing that. Kelly, now we joked that you're at a little bit of a disadvantage because you're maybe a few years younger than Urban and me, and you're kind of like an album, but we'll give you a little bit wider berth to answer it however you want to answer.
Well, I will say the what gets played the most in my house and in my car these days is Taylor Swift, because I have my 2 girls are 5 and 8, so that is their jam completely right now. But for me, if I had to pick an album to bring with me, it would be Dave Matthews Band, and this is a tricky one to decide which album, but I think Under the Table and Dreaming would be the one that I would pick. This is also very nostalgic for me. It was high school and college that I loved listening to Dave Matthews Band and when I got introduced to it, and it's still one of those that we will pick in our house, a common Spotify playlist that has a lot of Dave Matthews Band on it. So yeah, I think that'd be the one.
Oh my God, you know what? I listened to that record literally all the time too, because we lived in Indonesia and you could not get CDs, but I had that CD and we listened to that thing to death.
Nice.
All the time. Yeah, I wanted to play Satellite on guitar so badly. I actually hired a guy to come out and try to teach me how to play it. You know the song, the third song. And I was like, oh my God, it's such a great song. Anyway, great choice.
Well, it just really demonstrates how much synergy there is between the city of Mill Valley, our town of Mill Valley, and the Kelly Brush Foundation. So with that, we will wrap up. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us, Mayor. Urban, Mayor Carmel, Urban. I'm sort of splitting the paradigms here. Thank you for joining us and doing this outside on a beautiful day in the square in Mill Valley.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. It's great.
Thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Kelly and Mayor Carmel as much as I did. Please feel free to share this podcast with anyone you think will benefit. And we hope you will join us for a fun and fulfilling afternoon on October 19th in Mill Valley. Be sure to visit kellybrushfoundation.org/ride for more details.